So in this second part of the talk, I'm still like trying to argue why I believe the monotheistic religions are gonna prevail and gonna push back on the actual trends of the atheistic secularism, the disorganized way of life that people are in now. And even though it looks like way too far out of reach, it's never out of reach for these three religions. We've seen it in history. The less when you, as they say in that state, I think it's Agatha Christie, uh, when you less expected, the church comes storming. It's like I see the three monistic religions in the same view. When you less expected, they come storming and they come with their advertising abilities, by the holy books, the holy words, and tell people how to organize their life. And if you look in society today, you see that they never lost their basis. Maybe they are pushed back, maybe some trends in universities and things are trying to take over and remove people from that ways of life. It's clear that it's not these three religions that are ruling and controlling the life as we are living it today. They are part of it. They are trying to maybe find their way through it, and they've got a lot of problems internally, a lot of corruption, a lot of things that also made me like check out and say I'm not gonna be part of this. But when I look at it, I see the force in that radical and special idea that there is only one God and we have to organize our life around the belief in that one God. And that God is behind the scene, behind our understanding. So if you look at society today, you find an argument why these are gonna come back. When people are in despair out there and have trouble finding their way and they're lost between very, very shallow people and narrow minded, egoistic types of narcissistic ways of life, they go and turn to find a source of comfort. Or maybe people are put into wars and put into very, very hard situations, which is happening every day in this earth because of the tragedies of our way with dealing with things, both now and in the past. They go and try to find source of comfort, and it's like they are heard. It's like things changes, at least from the inside. And so they find their secret way to what we can call the spiritual belief in the source of power behind life, which we in daily life call God. But it's a source of power they feel in their life, and that makes them like adhere. And so if they're part of an Orthodox church, they go to the Orthodox. If they are part of something Jewish, they become more Jewish. And if you are a Muslim, you will go and find your place within the Muslim ranks and the prayers. And that's a push we can see that is secretly working out there. Even people that they know themselves to be like part of gangs or shallow minded or have done something criminal or bad, they also sometimes find this enlightenment. Maybe it's too late, maybe they will never become the voice of God in the world, but they find it in themselves to find that peace and tranquility they've been lacking and looking for all their life. And I find it also among Christians and people who are atheists or just living their life with alcoholism and big trouble because they can't cope. Humans, especially in these modern times, without organizational force, without a God, has to become gods, otherwise they will perish. This is the deep and profound meaning of the idea of Nietzsche, even though it's been distorted to 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 become something else. It's like, yeah, we killed God, we've prevailed. It's not that. It's we've killed God, we don't want him, we don't want the God in our life. And doesn't matter whether you think it's the Christian God or the Muslim or the Jewish, in my opinion. It's like when you push the idea of the organizing force that comes from God out of your life, you will have to become a God. Otherwise, life will disturb you so much, it can destroy you. You will go alcoholic, you will go in nature and try to find your way. I know people who just simplify everything and say, I don't believe in anything, but I find the pleasure in nature and like hunting animals or whatever they do, walking long trips. And within these trips, they find a spiritual source they didn't know. They just find things amazing. Maybe they don't think about it too deeply. Maybe they don't express it, they don't say it. But every time they go out there in nature, they find this source of something supernatural, something metaphysical that just gives them that source of power in life. So nature is also filled with everything that we need to feel enriched with that creation, that grace, that love. Even though people don't call it God or the source of life, but it is like a source of enrichment that these people find and thereby become, in a way, spiritually religious. Um, so, in our everyday life, there are many things pointing to stories upon stories that people find their way to spirituality, to the one God, even to organized religion and to conservative groups. I know people who went all the way from left to not, I would say right, but like the religious, anti-religious places, to go into a religion of their choosing. And there are, of course, people going the other way because there's also a lot of horrors on the other side. Sorry to say, there are a lot of trouble on the other side. If you go too deep into the religion and the organizing force behind it and the conservative voices there, my God, you will also find psychopaths, you will find narcissists, you will find people using their religion for own goals, you'll find corruption, you will find abuse, you'll find many, many things that you either get stuck into or you try to run away from and get persecuted by them because they don't want it to come into the open. This has happened to me. And so when you go to the other side, you'll find the whole hollowness. They're just drinking and smoking cigars or whatever strong stuff they can find and trying to speak of literature that does not have any meaning. And look at those people philosophizing in books after books without any deep, profound meaning. And they try to spend their whole life just explaining few verses of Heidegger or whatever stories they can come by from Sartre and so on. It's so narrow that people also, if they look deeply, they will say it's not fulfilling. You will reach a limit, also within the philosophy of atheism and non-religious secular philosophy, that will bring you to the limit. And even the people who work in science, many of them are actually in secret religious, and some tell their stories, but they never get pushed. Like the stories never get advertised enough so that billions and billions hear it. But on the opposite side, billions and billions have to hear that the very clever and brilliant Hawkins is against or saying there is no God. We have to hear that in every class, every place. But we don't hear about, look, even I don't know their names because they're pushed in the background. But I remember a few of them. I think one is called Hudson, Richard Hudson, who is like a little bit, he's also a scientist who argue for the sanity of religion and organized belief, and that there is a God, must be a creator. Our minds leads us to that, and he held seminars all over the world. He's not particularly part of any group, but he see that there is a logic in that, and we don't hear as much about it as we hear about the other stuff. So even that is happening. These three religions are like rocks who will stand there and will push back whenever the tiger is out of the cage. And people are silently and closely finding that in their own life. Maybe they don't, and like I don't like to go and give myself up to the wolves in that religious religious way, because my God, you will also find many wolves in there. And you also find very nice people, like close to angels, and people you will respect, both men and women, and their religious conservative groups. But even though we don't go and give ourselves up, we get to the point where we understand that what they basically are saying is a message of deep truth. We can't prove it really, but it's a message of deep truth that there is something behind all this. We are too limited to understand it, and we cannot live without it. We need it as an organizing force in our life. We just don't dare to go there yet, where we like commit ourselves, because there is so much trouble in these religious groups and societies. If they were really wanting God, as I often said, uh, criticizing their three religions, they would go and organize their inner houses, not alone and each by himself, but together. They will find the common grounds where they can build their basic, what can you say, raison d'etre, like the reason why they exist is to speak the name and message of the one God. This is all that it's about. All these books and all these pages is only about one thing: go and let your mind and heart and brains accept and take in the message of the one God. And this is happening to people every day, even though they go to like the Eastern religions, and they go find spirituality there, and they go find deep seeking to find that one source in them. They are on the way. They are on the way there. And so many things are pushing us in the direction of like looking through what's going on in the world of this shallowness, and things are being put upside down. And this is a great force that these three religions have. They have a hierarchy. They do not just put the dancer above the scientist, and they do not promote the singer or the shallow-minded, bad-worded actor above the teacher, above the person who will bring enlightenment. That's what Samuel L. Jackson said. I'm a person that watches many movies. Many people, he said, many people, we're giving too much money to these nonsense rap music. If we gave just half of it to the teachers, we will be better off, and we will have a better education, and we won't hear so much noise. He said it in a very funny way, actually. And so, like, I'm speaking because I've tried to run in all directions. I have been with the Quran. I've spent 10 years with the Old New Testament. I've dwelled with the Old Testament and met with some Jewish and talked to them. And I went to all the way to the other side, like looking into the borders of atheism. I was very close to jumping in there, but I just knew it can't be true. The spirituality is strong and it's there. Whether it's a God we can give a name or not, there is a foundation that these are not answering. They are casting me and others into a void of nonsense and shallowness and limitless way of thinking. And they know that. They know that. They know their fragility. And so I never jumped in, but I went to the borders. I sat in the debates. I talked to some of these people. I even have a radio debate with one of them. Very respectful, very good debate we had. I was on one side of the border and he was on the other. He was a declared atheist who could understand the reasoning of the other side, even though he don't admit it. And I was a spiritual believer in a source of life on the other side. And you see, the holy books do not sit and wait for me and him to agree or not agree. They just punch through with their message, whether I like it or not, whether he likes it or not, and say, we will prevail, this is the message, I'm the God, where the heck are you people think you're going? And don't try to run away. Run towards me, don't run away from me. God would like to repeat and say in the words of Jesus, in the words of Muhammad, in the words of Moses and the Old Testament and the prophets. Run towards me. I'm behind it all. Trust it. Go this way. And when we push in the other direction, like I did, also towards science and humanism, you find that it's important to have that view that religious doctrines should not overshadow scientific truth. But these three religions will tell you that no scientific truth will ever contradict with a true religious doctrine. So if we find the scientific truth somewhere and there is something in the religious doctrines that's not really like it, that means this doctrine has been misunderstood or misinterpreted or not right. So we do not put our brains aside just to say, I will hold on to the doctrine whatever you say, but we won't either go with the scientific research, which sometimes also is being used and twisted. So it like hides part of the truth or the limits of their research. It's like the people reaching into the universe and saying, oh, now we have the Hubble, or now we have what we call the new telescope. I forgot the name, the golden eye, the new telescope that was launched a few years back that can look further than Hubble. Orion, forgot the name. Anyhow, and then they claim they've seen it all and they know it all, and now they can map it all out. What the heck is this arrogance? And they want to make it a scientific truth that we have seen nothing out there. Go unpack, you religious people. There is nothing. We have seen it. It's stupid, but people believe it and fall for it and go after it. And why is it stupid? It's stupid because your limitless eye and mind, 10 years back, you couldn't even see half of what you can in the space today. And you said, we can't see anything. We looked. And now you're looking further. You still say you can't see anything, even though in 10 years from now, you'll be seeing even further. So wait until you really know that you reached the limit. Something tells you that you bump your head into the wall or something, or you fall off the edge of the universe, and then come back and claim that you haven't seen anything. But on the other side, to claim by religious people that God and the words of it cannot be discussed is also to put people's mind into a state of dwell and suppression that never works and have never worked. The best way these religious cultures have been doing in their golden times is to combine the scientific measures, minds, truth seeking with the religious way of life. And I know that the Catholics have these scientific observatories and scientific groups that, based on the foundation of religion, are trying to look into science and understand more and make medicine and try to make something useful. And the same with the Muslims, maybe not in these days where they are just running in the streets and shouting or sitting in front of cameras and stripping or whatever in cafes and having shisha. But in those times they had the golden ages. They did the same and it worked, the balance. And the same with the Christians, the golden age of the Renaissance and the age that followed, the age of enlightenment and reason. But then it tipped over because the gap between the religious text and ideas and the intolerant religious people became too big, between the gap between them and the scientific approach, or what science had brought with it. Like if you have some doctrine in your religion saying you cannot use blood, or you cannot make medicine out of special plants, and somebody proves that it's actually healthy or it can be used to heal people, you can't just be that hard-minded, stupid rock as a religious man and say, no, the text says. You have to say, okay, maybe I misunderstood the text. Maybe I misinterpreted something, because clearly the creator of life has given the truth in nature like he's given it in the religion I am standing with. This is the doctrine they should all be standing on, using, looking from, to say that whenever a scientific measure has been made, a scientific discovery is truly being confirmed, and I have something in my texts or what I call guidelines or whatever that contradicts that or forbid me to do that, I have to look with modification, because the one who created it all out there has made it follow some scientific rules. We know that from mathematics. Many things we know from nature works according to some kind of formula. That's why we can make medicine. That's why we can use herbs. That's how we know what's good from what's bad for us and for nature and for life. It's because it works on a formula. And this formula has been set in motion by some source. It's the most stupid idea to say that it just came up by itself and started rapidly developing. It's like that. It's just like saying that these AI and robots that we are creating, it just came up by themselves. Just suddenly a chip was found on the floor somewhere, and it just like a brainiac in the Justice League movies, Justice League cartoons. I'm a cartoonist. I love cartoons. I'm a child inside. So don't think that all this serious talk is because I'm trying to be over serious, but it's because everything is linked, everything is connected. So it's like saying that this brainiac just copied himself and started devouring planets. It could be like this, but there is a source behind it. Brainiac, he came from somewhere. Somebody created him in the beginning, and thereby is his father or God or whatever. Maybe he killed that God, maybe he took over. All these stories we know from mythology can be true, but the three monotheistic religions push back and say, I am unreachable. Don't even think that whatever I created will be able to overtake me. I'm too wise, knowledgeable, and clever and enlightened for that. That was uh, your measure that made you think that, but you can never get me. And that's why people from these religions adhere to the word of God. They say because he is there, he's beyond. We can't kill him, really. We can't get to him. And so at the same time, he created all this nature according to formulas, and when these formulas reveal themselves to us and they contradict some texts, it's not a big issue. We don't have to fight the scientists or burn them or persecute them just to prove the point of that little detail in the text. That's stupidity. That's corruption. God wants his written word, his religious word, to be in accordance with the nature, the word of nature, the word of mathematics, the word of how the formulas work or doesn't work. They do not really contradict. They only contradict because man is stupid, man is limited. Because we misuse our power, we misuse the understanding of the religious text, we become fanatics. The religious fanatics are just like those atheist and scientific fanatics, because they just see things in one perspective and they want everything to fit with that. And neither fits. It's a paradox. Haven't you got it yet? Whenever you have a scientific approach, you will find a religious one. Whenever you have something religious, you will at one day find a scientific truth that's hidden out there. And if you don't find it, that means it wasn't a religious truth in the beginning. It has been distorted or somehow misunderstood. So they never contradict, and that's the power of monotheism. It can speak to your mind, to the science in nature, and it can push to that balance. And so every society that has its renaissance has found this formula and have used it to combine the religious organizing force with the freedom of seeking knowledge in nature, seeing them as collaborative forces and not contradictive forces. Whenever that formula goes wrong for us, that balance goes wrong, we get into all that persecution and hatred and science against religion that has been filling the space the last 3 decades. And I love the Dan Brown approach in Angels and Demons, where this priest is trying to pull people back to believe in the church again by using science against itself. And he give this very, very long and beautiful speech. Everybody should actually read it, in Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. He gives this speech about how religion and science actually do not contradict. They can be used for good. They can be a collaborative force, but people just are single-minded. They are black or white. I believe that truth, and I believe we are exactly there on that edge of the paradox all the time. It's like we are circus dancers on a line. Whenever we tip to the right, there is also a tip to the left, and it's very amazing. It's complex, and our minds can't cope with it, and we are very limited, and that's why we cannot get to that edge and to that place where we can dance on that line in a fine way without falling or hurting each other and so on. But I believe that the monotheistic radical idea keeps pushing for these truths and bring people back to them, and whoever understand it never leave it, or seldomly leave it. So this is the third argument I've got, that in social life and people's personal life, in science and discoveries, you find something that resonates for people in these religious approaches and views and values. The fourth one is in history. If you look in history, you will see that whenever the monotheists have been persecuted, they've never been extinguished. It's like the yin and yang, actually. And whenever they've been on the march and taking over everything, they've never been able to get rid of the seed of evil that's out there, or the seed of wrongness, or whatever it is. They've always been bordels and been thieves and been brothels in English, and thieves and people lacking morality in the most and best societies and areas of the world. Under the best wise kings, there have been corruption and trouble and things that went wrong. And in the worst parts, where these religious ideas have been pushed into the dungeons and killed and persecuted, somebody and something survived. But it's like God let it push to the edge and then show them that all your efforts to try to push me out, to push my name out, is in vain. Don't even try it. But people keep trying. So stupid. They keep trying. I've lived with that. So I look at it from a godly perspective. Maybe God is smiling right now somewhere behind the curtain. I'm definitely smiling if I'm just looking at this as a computer game and see, okay, let's push this creator out, let's take over. And he let them go to the edge, and when they come to the moment where they can eradicate everything and just like live without the program of the God, he find a way to just tear them down and push it back. Like I remember the story of Muhammad, who was very persecuted, 2 times nearly killed, and went out in despair to that neighboring village, and they threw stones at him, and he didn't know where to turn. He didn't have anyone, and he was in that cave, and from that cave everything turned, like the spider web that protected him in there, and then the road where he found this shepherd who housed him for 3 days so they couldn't find him, and then he found the open arms in the new city where everything changed. And he started winning battle after battle, victory after victory, and God's name won with it. And he came into people's life with great strength up until today, where people resonate the name of the one God because of that. You go to Jesus. He was also, sorry to say Christians, but nearly killed. I believe the story that he was somehow saved and hasn't been the one who was killed. It was one of his friends who was put on the cross, the one you think was his the traitor. But anyhow, let's follow the Christian official story that is in the book I have in front of me. It's like, even though he was taken to the cross, even though he was persecuted, what happened? The blood went into the earth and it blossomed. It grew. Even the disciples, like 11 out of 12 were beheaded, killed, burned, done a lot of things to them that you said, this is over. This religion is never going to see the light again. And anyhow, it went back and it saw the light and it prevailed. And you can say it's coincidence. Okay, good luck. It's there. It's out there. It's ruling the big parts of the world. And the same with the Jewish. How many times have the Jewish not been in really, really strong and tight spots where like almost everyone has gone against them or have persecuted them? We know the Maccabees, we know the Zacchaeus, Zacchaeus, many stories I've read and heard and read in documentaries and read in the old book as well, where things have nearly gone wrong. Everybody knows the story of Moses and the Red Sea. Whether you believe the sea was divided or not, okay, it's not the issue for me. I believe it, but it's not the issue to make you believe it. It's just he got out of the hands of Pharaoh and everything turned from there. He died before they could come back to the holy city, but anyhow, things changed and they prevailed and they got golden agents. And God just kept helping them and pushing them on because they were protecting his one name. That's why they hated the idea of Jesus became the God, because they saw it as the biggest blasphemy the Romans came up with. And they pushed against it and against the people who said it, because they said, we have been protecting God's one clear and pure name for centuries, and now somebody comes from within and claims that he's the God or the son of the God, like the physical son of the God. God isn't like that. And so when things went wrong also for the Christians, and they started like persecuting each other in groups, like the people who didn't agree with the Nicaea Council in 300 and said, where are you going with this? I know many Catholics and the Protestants and others would say, no, the text date all the way back to the 1st century, and it's from there they have them, and they have been referring to them in the Nicaea Council. It wasn't made up there, but there have been many groups up until the Nicaea Council that were against the way they portrayed the doctrines. Anyhow, this is a big and difficult discussion within Christianity and within the religions. But anyhow, what I want to say is that they prevailed. The name of God prevailed in one sense or another. So now if you talk to a Christian who believes in Trinity, you say, no, it's only one God. We just see 3 aspects of it or something like that. It's a wonderful discovery for me to understand that. But that led me very, very deeply back to see that, wow, the one God has prevailed. I went to listen to Sadhguru in the East and to the Buddhist monks that were speaking there about tranquility, mindfulness, yoga, and all that. And when I listened between the lines, maybe because I was looking for it or trying to look for it, and when I read in the Brother Vida the openings and some of the parts that were talking about the Brahman and how everything goes back to that one source, and it keeps like renewing and repeating and repeating and repeating in an eternal circle for those who do not get the right enlightenment and make it through to that source, to that God, so their consciousness of this life will fade away and disappear. You find the same basic idea. There is a source, there is something you go back to, you turn towards, you try to find in this wilderness that you are in whenever you get born. I know many people don't see it that way, don't live it that way. Look at the Japanese or Chinese today, how much is that idea in their life? Not really much. And that's why these monks went to the monasteries and trying to say, oh my God, even our people have turned away from it. The same can be said about the Christians and Jewish and Muslims. They can see the masses cannot really cope with that idea and live with it. That's also what led some of the monotheistic believers to say this is a religion for the elite. It's chosen people with a level of intelligence, both emotionally and mentally, that can cope and take in the idea of God. And these are the people who God wants to lead to Him and enlighten them. He will choose them. You cannot just find your way there. Otherwise, you'll just be living among the average, mediocre people. I'm sure millions who would listen to this, none will listen to this because it won't be promoted anywhere, but I want to speak it. I want to put it out there. I never know. At least I've taken it out of my guts. But if millions listen to this, they won't understand what I want to say, and I won't understand what they understand by it, because this is how the world works. Communication is an amazing invention among us humans, because how could we understand each other otherwise? We need symbols. And the language of symbols got so complicated in words and grammars and all these things we use today that doesn't really express the very depth of our mind, that it makes it impossible to convene any true message or intention to anybody else. We see that in courtrooms every time when somebody is convicted or not convicted. They're judging by like traits, incidents. They're judging by looking into what we call what you can call validation. What are the signs? What are the symbols that this person is guilty or not? And it can go wrong. A person can be totally innocent. They find out that after 20 years, where their cases are reviewed, or somebody find new evidence that the guy wasn't the killer anyway, or the guy wasn't the one who did that thing. Things can easily go wrong. So I'm not saying it's easy to convene any message from one person to another, but it's like you need a level of purity, intelligence, mentally and spiritually, to get to that fine line of understanding both Carl Sagan's words, Hawking's words, and the prophet's words on the other end. It seems impossible to people to say, how can your mind like dwell on all that? But it does. It can. Being a religious person does not oppose being a scientific one. And a scientist doesn't per se necessarily need to reject all religion or all kind of spirituality. And I hear that also when I read and listen to Carl Sagan. He have it in him. He maybe didn't say it clearly or couldn't or whatever, but he has it somewhere in there. There is more between heaven and earth that we know of, and spirituality is a path. But everybody is scared of the organized religion because of its history. So I'm speaking about history here. History has shown us as an argument that these radical ideas of the one God can never be taken down. They can be put to the edge, like the Pharaoh following Moses into the sea, and they're trapped. The sea opened. Like the Christ being taken off the board and in their opinion killed or whatever, over with him, and it flourished and flourished and flourished, and it got over it, and it spread. And the Islam, the same thing. So please stop hating each other. Stop hating Muhammad or Christ or the Christian priests or the Jewish ones. or the monks in the monasteries in the East, and stop hating the scientists, and the scientists stop looking with those words and ideas on the religious ones. You have to work together, all of you. We can't. I know we can't. We are too divided and stupid and mediocre to do that. We are not pure-minded, pure-hearted to do that. But this is, if you want a formula, we have to be on that tipping edge between science and religion, between open-mindedness and organized mindedness. We have to always be on that tip, on that balance. And society is far, far off the chart today. We all know that. We feel it. Many really feel that it's not working. But many are waiting for what can you say, the storm to ride over and to pass us, if it's gonna pass us soon or not. And people to get more the idea that we need the organized stuff. So history has showed that you cannot get rid of the one true idea, even though it can be cornered. And at the same time, you cannot get rid of the opposite ideas, even though they get cornered or drawn back. So there is a truth in that yin and yang balance that keeps the world like running. I don't know why God wants it that way, but He said this is how it's gonna be, and you find proof for that in all three texts. That good will never be able to get rid totally of evil until the day where God make it vanish. Until then, it will continue to be a struggle, and I know many religious people understand and accept that and walk in life with that. So it's how it is. So history shows us that you cannot get past this very radical idea that is in the world. And some would say, well, history, where did that idea start actually? It was just an idea in the head of some Ahur Mazdak religious, what you call them, Zarathustra, and other. They trace it back to some sort of Persian fire god that they kept the fire on as the symbol of light of that god that's beyond our realm, and they believed he was only one god, and he had devoured all the false gods, and he was the one we should follow. Um, and from there stemmed the idea of the monotheism that made the prophets in the Old Testament like get their visions or give it from one to another, and the same came to the Christ, and then he made himself God to put himself above people. That's what they would say, that historically, if you go back and trace the idea of monotheism, it was created at one point. It's not an original idea. The original idea is polytheistic idea, maybe even non-godly idea, nature. What can you say? You call it paganism, or you can call it the idea of living in a world of like simplicity. You can't answer anything. You can't say there is a God. Agnostic idea in a way. So that's what they say, and they say the Quran was just a kind of hallucinations from Muhammad. He was a very clever poet, and he read the old scripture, and he got these inspirations, and he maybe there were some Jewish people behind him because he's attacking Christianity, but he's also attacking some part of Judaism and using the one God and so on. So this is the explanation we got from anthropology and philosophy, atheistic philosophy, and idea history, and they're taking over universities. They have done for 200 years, and they keep repeating that to students, and you have to show your loyalty to that idea even to go on. And they keep repeating it, trying to find proof for it, and they are very intolerant. I've met with one of these professors, and I've met with there were two, one local one from our Nordic countries, and one from an American. My God, they are so intolerant. If even a student, I've talked to one student who told me about this too, very intolerant if somebody is trying to put the arguments I'm trying to put today. Uh, so there is a great intolerance also on the other side, even though they are hiding behind the idea of tolerance and freedom. It's just tolerance and freedom to say no to everything and not to accept anything. That's not freedom. Not to put yourself in an organized frame and accept it as that life is organized. Anyhow, so the history of these three religions can be traced according to some of these scientific research that is limited and not totally true, not totally into depth, to these ideas from old times of the one fire god, and the mythological ideas from the Greeks and the Romans and so on. It was just put into more organized form, and so pushed forward. But the three books tells us a different story, and they keep holding on to that story and saying, no, 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 no. You were an intelligent design from the beginning. You were a creation that was meant to rule this place, even though you disgraced yourself from the eternal place, but you were still meant to rule it, and you had the guidance from the beginning. Keep your head, your mind, your heart towards the one God, and blessings will come and follow. And we couldn't do that, and it went wrong. And then prophets came along the way. This is the narrative of the Old Testament, and it's repeated in the Quran, Quranic words, and it's repeated in the New Testament, but not so clearly, because it's mostly whatever is gathered there is also mostly focused on following the Christ as the Savior, and finding the new way. But if you compare them, they say, no, 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 there is a design from the beginning. There is a God who said, let things be, and they became. There is a source that started it all, and he never left it, and never got out of his hands. So here we got the Gnostics, who would say, maybe there have been a God, or surely there have been, but it got out of his hand. He forgot this word somehow, because otherwise there wouldn't be evil in it. He wouldn't let it. And they will push back and say the religions, the three monotheistic, will say, no, he didn't leave it, but he left us to be in that trial generation after generation, seed after seed, because we have to gain the rights to get back to that eternity. And if you look to the Eastern religions who do not follow these three religions and do not adhere to the text, they would say the same philosophy in other words. They would say, well, you will keep being reborn in eternity unless you find the way. And that way is to relieve you, to make you like you have earned the level of enlightenment and understanding and inner peace that makes you reliable to get into that eternal place. And it's a logical idea if you think of it, but it's not necessarily true because it's logic. A lot of things we see as logic is not necessarily true. What do I mean by that? I mean, like, you cannot use to say, well, God looked with mercy on the world and he didn't know what to do, and now he conceived this child of him physically to give it to the world so he could take the sins. And wow, yeah, why not? That's a good idea, but doesn't make it true. And you go to the Mohammedanic text and you say, this God has been from the beginning, and when he saw things going wrong, he chose to make hell and heaven to punish most people, because they will stay blind, they will be arrogant, they won't follow the words, and only those who follow this narrow, broad road will be the one. Wow, that's a beautiful idea. That's not bad. Okay, hell and heaven, why not? Evil people who do not want God, let them just burn there. Why not? His mercy, his all mercy, yeah. But there is this hell, and who's gonna go there? All these people who won't find the road. So just because it makes sense and seems logical doesn't make it true. And religions don't accept that. They just keep arguing with their text every time they see the signs of something, as if it was the logic in their argument makes it true. Well, I have looked into mythology, both the Roman and especially the Greek one, with all the gods, and they make sense too if you look at them in that perspective. Say, yeah, why not? There was the gods. They were like striving. They were envy on each other. Each one created his own world, and each one made his own people. And from there on, they have been like helping their own, or maybe punishing the others, or maybe that biggest god of them all, Apollo or Zeus. He put them all in place, and sometimes they rebel against him, and that's what we feel in this world of thunder and storms and troubles. So we are just small creations, slaves. We are humble creatures who are very weak. There are many stronger creations above us. They are trying to topple that God. So it's a fight. Why doesn't that make sense? Okay, yeah, why not? So now I found the root of evil in this world is from the gods. So you see, just because I say I find sense in what I'm saying doesn't make it truth. And the same, I would like to say that to the monotheistic religions, that just because you argue with something doesn't necessarily make it a truth like that. Just because you say, well, if the world was conceived by many gods, you will have seen them fighting. Okay, that's logical. Um, I have never seen gods fighting, but maybe I'm too small for that. I'm in a small cell somewhere. I can't see the fighting. I can't hear it. It's like an ant passing you by while you're fighting someone. The ant won't even recognize that it's two people fighting. It will just feel everything shaking around it, and it will maybe die or run away. Yeah, it cannot distinguish the boots that made the ground shake from the screams that's above its head. It's too small for that, and we are too small for that to recognize all this. So these arguments don't necessarily hold, but the radical monotheistic religions stick to the arguments saying this is a creation and you can see the signs of it, and all you need to find is out there and is in you and in your mind, in your heart and in your mind. So from there you will find the path. If you're lucky, you will not be reborn. If you're lucky, you will not end in that hell of wherever that is, and feel the burn or feel the uncomfortableness, feel the pain. So that's what you have to strive for. That's what you have to find. And some never hear of this, and some people hear it all aloud and still can't do it. I'm one of these people, maybe. So I don't know why it is like this. And is it really like this? I also understand when the opposition is saying it can't be like this. Come on, a God that is wise and mercy and understanding. Why all this? It's beyond comprehension, isn't it? So keeping an open mind to the arguments on both sides is what makes the balance. You can never, as a religious person, just persecute your opponents one-sidedly. And that's what the golden age of these three religions has never been doing. They've been doing like the tolerance. When the Muslims entered the places of in the East and the West, North Africa, in their golden ages, they didn't just pull down all churches, close all synagogues, burn every place they didn't like, burn every book. They preserved the old books, even the ones that were speaking the falseness, because in every falseness there is truth. And I remember from the Christian golden age, they had this saying that in every false text of the others, there are some truths. So that's why they kept them in libraries, and they kept original, what can you say, or original scripts, also scientific scripts. Why else is the Vatican libraries and archives filled with these books? That's because they have this basic notion that even though I'm standing on the truth as I see it, there is some truth in what I see is false. And the same goes for the Jews, who have been trying to gather secrets of the world and literature to like just get through with the deeper meaning and secrets of the world in a measure that I don't think we really realize. And I don't know it, but I only imagine it. I've never seen it, but I can recognize it. I think the Jewish are those who have been mostly keen of understanding what we call sorcery. Sorcery, it means the source of how to use things in a supernatural way. They've been digging into both text, occult and non-occult, religious, non-religious, and they're trying to gather this knowledge, and to keep it, beside keeping the idea of the one God, the one source of it all. So he has given sorcery to people to use it, and he has sometimes bestowed it on some people. It's magic, that trees can blossom in winter, and you can get a cloud whenever over your head whenever you want to have this shelter from the harsh sun, and you can make the earth with your stick float with water and springs that people can drink from. We call it magic, but it's all part of the program. And we in this age are those who are until now most able to imagine that, because we got the games ever since the games came out, it became easier to imagine a world that is built entirely out of some what we call programming and false skins and walls and what can you say, build up blocks. Um, you can build the whole world, you can give it rules, you can change those rules, you can help someone win, others lose. You are the god in that world, and the game is on as long as you're playing it with your unlimited, like to say, access. If you are the programmer and you are completely aware of everything, well, who can beat you and who can outsource you, outrun you? Nobody. But suddenly you can give a tool in the hands of one of the pieces you like most and let them find their way out of the reality. And this is a very simple programming idea. Imagine that this God has made it much more complex, had made everything run by a source of code that runs automatically. He doesn't need like to push us around or give us a tool in our hands. He made it so we can overcome each other with the tools that are available, but he's keeping an eye on everything and he will suddenly help when he wants to help. This is where these three books come in my belief. They are helped from a source beyond our understanding, just as sorcery and magic is helped from a source beyond our understanding. And I believe magic and sorcery has been misunderstood and misinterpreted and scared of by these three religions, misunderstood, unfortunately, some of the interpreters of these three religions, because they've been being used to good in the old days, and they have been like tools in the hands of the prophets and the kings and the people who could use them as part of a supernatural power given by the same source, by God. But then all this was stripped away from us with every sin and turn away from the source. Many things have been stripped away from us. Maybe we're not even in the shape that we should have been originally, the Adamic shape. We are fallen and keeps falling and keeps going back. Even though now we send a little rocket to the moon here and there, if you compare it with what source of power that could have been given. Imagine you are the creator of all this and you could put anything into this world. Huh? You could have given us the knowledge to go beyond the space, beyond the... But no. He's limited it all for some reason. And maybe so we can grow into those demigods, semigods, what can you call it? Creation of fulfillment, of complete tranquility before he gives us any of these tools. Many things can be explanations here, but I think sorcery and magic has been part of the same sort. Then it was being used for evil and bad things, and then it was abandoned or pushed back. It's like when the Christians persecuted those poor women who could make a soup, or what can you say, remedies out of herbs, and they had some kind of way of healing people by touching them or sitting above their heads and speaking chants, and they saw it as a part of sorcery and evilness, because I'm sure the other side of the story is also that these priests and these Christian people found that some women were using their powers wrongly, or using the remedies for something bad and evil. I don't think they just out of the blue just started persecuting these women as we are meant to believe today. But at the same time, they really pushed the borders for persecuting people whenever they liked. It was totally corrupt at them at some point. I'm sure of that too, because history shows us both traits. And so sorcery and magic is real. It's hidden. And you find the trace of it in these three books as well. It's like there is no topic you can discuss that you can't find some sort of inspiration for or a truth about reading in these monotheistic religion. And so that's why history will prove that they will prevail.